I've had the RG Cube for about a week, and man, am I impressed. Anbernic really fluffed the launch of this, sending out devices, review devices to end users with screen issues. However, I haven't seen any screen issues with people buying from resellers like Lit NXT, who have provided this device for today's video, so I am grateful to them for that. But I want to skip past all that drama and talk today about one of the nicest handhelds I have ever had the pleasure of using. Yes, ever. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's thank today's sponsor, PCBWay. They are an online shop to order anything from custom PCBs, CNC machining, 3D printing, and a bunch of other things, all ready to roll on the website. You can order, put your specs, everything on their website. And they wanted me to tell you about their promotion. They are running an anniversary special, and I'll put on the screen now all the coupons and codes that you can use. So if you have been working on some nerdy project, now is the time, because you can go and get a discount on the PCBWay website. So thank you, PCBWay, for sponsoring today's video, as always. Okay, so firstly, the thing that struck me immediately when this thing arrived is the plastic, the feeling in hand, and the ergonomics, just the way it feels. You know, with all the bad press, I was expecting worse, I think. And the RG556 was great, but it wasn't special, if I could put it that way. It was a good device. This is a mini RG556, and I know a lot of people say they just threw the kitchen sink at this and threw a bunch of things together, but I don't know. This thing feels like a lot of love went into it. It's got these sticks that for some reason Anbernic don't map their sticks correctly, and the Gamma Squeeze on the Retro Handhelds Discord has got a fix for us. We've got this beautiful D-pad. It's a mini version. It's a smaller version from the Anbernic Arc. I've checked it out and it's a little bit smaller. These buttons are clicky, but not too clicky. Shoulder buttons are clicky, but not too clicky, just enough to be direct. These trigger buttons are magnificent. They are some of the best trigger buttons on a device. I know they're the same as the 556, but they've chamfered the plastic better than the 556. It was very sharp on the 556, and they just feel great. The plastic itself feels very, very good. It's got this lovely textured grip over here. It's got a nice, soft, matte feel to it. The only weird thing with this white version is the fact that they're using like pristine white and off-white in the same thing. This is pristine white and then this is off-white. Very strange decision. I must say, I quickly got over it. It is a beautiful device. This white with the color buttons and the RGB here is just, I'm in heaven. I love it. The only thing about this RGB is you can't dim it. And I hope they eventually include that, because I love leaving it on, but at night I just have to turn it off. It's too bright. Now, for this video, this is a first look video. I'm gonna focus on the squareness of it. Now, I wanna centralize what I talk about around it being square, because it all started with the RGB30. And I thought, novel, clever, and that's why this thing sold. But I just think there's more to it. And we're going to talk about that. The squareness in terms of the usability. Now, it brings your fingers closer to the screen, so you've got a very short distance from here to here to the middle of the screen. From here to here is a very short distance. So when playing something like Sonic Boom, I was able to use the slingshot without too much effort. Here I use my forefinger, but I generally use my thumb actually. And because it's so compact, you can use this as a tiny little portable TV box. It's got video out on the USB ports, and so you can output video to your TV from here. So it just makes it's very compact and versatile. And on that, I've downloaded Spotify because I feel like I've always thought with these Android handhelds, I'll use them as music players. This one I think I'll actually use because I'm gonna put it in my hoodie pocket here and have it around with me, and I can just use this as a music player. I think it's actually going to do that. I mean, just the square screen, it's just so novel and special. And then the touch screen for some Android games is pretty cool. Angry Birds, I ran into a little bit of trouble because you're right on the edge of the screen for the slingshot, but it is there and you can do it. And then a very specific niche use case are my XR glasses, which I made a video about the other day. So because you've got video out on the USB-C, I can run video out to here. There are some issues with Android running full screen to here. It sometimes disables the controls here, but overall, a very compact gaming device that can go to XR glasses. This is a very cool travel system, like XR glasses and this. Now I've got a big screen, I can run TV on here, I can do all my things with this. Instead of taking my iPad and like a bunch of things, I can just do this and I'm set. That is very cool. It may even, for travel, replace my Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck is pretty bulky. And then, I've got my glasses and this, just chuck it in the bag, none the wiser to anyone. I now have a whole entertainment thing set up when I'm traveling. I think the secret here is Android, really. I think Android brings a versatility to these devices. Like, I love this RGB30, and obviously it's a lot cheaper, but Android brings a whole new kettle of fish to the harbor. And I think this is going to be the device that convinces people that these handhelds with Android on them is not just, oh, well, why don't you just use your phone? It's square, it's different. It's not just a controller attached to a screen. This is something unique, and it's Android. And I think people are going to go, oh, Android gaming on a handheld. That's kind of cool. And then I wrote here square for visibility, meaning the square screen. Why is the square screen so special, and why does it kind of make this device just that little bit better than everything else I've ever tried in the past? The thing is, like I mentioned, I thought the RGB30 was like a novelty. As much as I loved it, it's a novelty. It's something that's going to come and go. But I feel like maybe it's catching on. I mean, this is now a premium device with a square screen, and I'm kind of there for it. And I know a lot of people are absolutely loving this device. Now, obviously, on these devices, we can do Game Gear, Game Boy, Pico 8 in a way that you've never been able to do it before. But the more you use it combined with Android, the more you start to feel like, wow, this is, it can do a lot more than I expected. So Android games try to fill the screen. You'll see here on Asphalt 9, it starts out in a sort of 4:3 aspect ratio. And then once we get into the game, it actually fills the screen. There we had a bezel, we had the black bars at the top and the bottom, and now we are go for full screen. And I mean, who knew Dead Cells could look so incredible on the square screen? Character's a little bit small, but it really does look good. And then let's talk about TV systems for a second, because TV systems were designed in an almost square format. When they were developed, it was, I think NES is 16:15, I think 8:7 for SNES, something to that effect. Now, it's nearly square. They were developed in nearly square, but a lot of the developers had 4:3 screens in mind. And so that's why this argument still arises, because some games were developed, they compensated for that 4:3. So you'll see like a circle will be like this when it's in the almost square format, but then when you stretch it to 4:3, it turns into a circle. And that's why people were confused and angry, because they're like, no, originally it was 4:3, and then the person was like, no, they developed it in 8:7 or whatever it may be. And the thing is, some games are going to look better almost square and some aren't. So you're going to have to do a per game override thing in RetroArch to get the maximum out of the screen. But the nice thing is, with the square screen, we have that as an option where it's going to look fine either way on the screen. And then you have vertical games. I did some Android vertical gaming, which also looks good on the screen. You're not losing a huge amount because you compromising. It's a perfect compromise between all of these aspect ratios. And then N-Gage. I remembered my friend Shem had N-Gage running on the Retro Pocket 2 or the 2 Plus, and it was pretty cool. Here on the square screen and on a more powerful device, it just kind of made sense. I was like, this is going to be pretty cool. So I went through all the drama, and it will be in my setup guide when I finally get that out. N-Gage on this is very, very nice. And the cool thing is, N-Gage switched between horizontal and vertical form factors, and here it will just do that, and you don't have to switch your device or anything. It's just going to do that, and it's going to be looking cool either way. And then just the resolution of the screen. It is phenomenal, like 720 by 720 on a small device, high pixel density, good color saturation. All these Android games look fantastic on this. And then, Game Boy Advance is going to look good on the screen because the resolution is high. It's not super small, even though it's got black bars at the top and the bottom. Game Boy Advance is very nice to play on here. So yes, it is the perfect compromise for retro gaming. That is what I'm going with. It really is, because we have all these arguments about ratios and sizes and things. This is a high pixel density screen that can play all of the formats within that screen at a decent size. 3DS looks good. All of the things look good. And then to mention 3DS, Anbernic have set up their own little skin and stuff, but their 3DS emulator it's quite old. And so I have down in my setup guide, there's a config file that some of the guys in the community have made available. So you can use Lime 3DS, upload that config file, and you will have a good 3DS layout, as you can see here. So to answer all those questions, does it play 3DS? Does it play 3DS well? It's going to take quite a bit of tweaking to play 3DS throughout the whole catalog, but like Sonic Boom, no problems. New Super Mario Bros, no problems. I haven't tested my favorite Samus Returns yet, so I'll test that out. I think it should be okay. But for any hard to emulate ones, you can always use Citra MMJ. You'll have to go digging for it, but you can use Citra MMJ. You're not going to get the whole library, but I reckon 60-70% is going to play pretty well. It is janky at times, it jerks and that kind of thing, but overall, it is very nice. And then you're going to get PS2 and GameCube to play, again, with a lot of tweaking, especially on the GameCube side. You can tweak per game within the emulators. All of that's going to be in my setup guide. I'm going to get into the weeds in that, but you're not going to play the whole catalog on either of those, PS2 and GameCube, but you're going to get quite a lot of gameplay there. But just to support Anbernic in them marketing this as a 3DS device, the thing is, people asked, okay, will the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro with a 16:9, putting 3DS on there? The thing is, if you stretch the main screen on that 16:9 screen, and I'll analyze all this in my setup guide, the bottom screen ends up being smaller than it is on the Anbernic RG Cube. And so, like I said, it's the perfect compromise because you maybe not getting as big a main screen, but you're getting a bigger, smaller screen. So it's nice to have both of those screens decently displayed on a screen. So for me, this has been the nicest 3DS emulation experience I've had to date. Now let's talk about something that I love to talk about, is comparing it to all the things. I like saving money and getting the best bang for your buck. That is one of my main things. One of the main reasons I started doing these sorts of videos is like, how much money do I have to spend to get what I want? And the answer here in summary is this is a premium device. You are paying extra for it just being so damn cool. This, the RGB30, is the same thing. It's Linux and it doesn't play as many games. For 99 USD on the Lit NXT website, you're getting quite a lot less in terms of build quality, in terms of performance, all of those things. The screen, I think, is pretty much the same screen, but everything else you're losing out on. So there's that. The Retro Pocket 2S is my favorite device of 2023. It is still a wonderful device. It's still like very beautiful device. I think the screen was a little bit small. I commented on that in my review. I think this is dethroning this, but the price. The Retro Pocket 2S comes in 99 USD. To South Africa, the shipping is $40. So it's $140 shipped to South Africa. The Anbernic on Lit NXT is 187 USD shipped to South Africa. So the Retro Pocket 2S is still cheaper, and in many ways it is nicer except for the square screen. So it still is cheaper and it still is probably a better deal. If I was shopping now and I had to choose between the two, knowing what I know now, I would definitely save that little bit extra and get the Anbernic. And then the other two obvious competitors. One of the problems that Anbernic have is the sheer amount of devices they've released. Some of the newer devices aren't even really good enough to compete with the older, like they have too many devices, and it's causing a problem in terms of them cross-competing with themselves, which I guess is a good problem to have. Now, the RG405E and the RG405M. The pricing is 189 USD on Lit NXT. You can definitely get it for cheaper, but that is shipped globally, shipping included. The RG405M, a lot more expensive, 219 USD, shipped from Lit NXT globally. That's why I do like using these resellers, because now it includes shipping for everyone all over. And the RG Cube is $187, so it is cheaper than both of these. Now, if you want a 4x3 screen, definitely. These are the two. These are still two of the best 4x3 screens on the market to date. I did a lot of PS2 gaming on here. I think I played through God of War 2 for PS2 on here. You know, just a lot of tweaking and I got the game working. But these are less powerful than the RG Cube. Now, in terms of ergonomics, I definitely prefer the RG405V, but in terms of just overall, like this is more pocketable and is still very ergonomic and has great triggers, better triggers. And then there was an argument, it's so close to the price of a Steam Deck, and kind of technically it is shipped to South Africa, $187, but here's the thing. In the US, maybe that's a good argument, which most of you watching this are in the US. But the thing is, everywhere else in the world, that is not a good argument, because in terms of South African Rand, this is 3,391 Rand, which is still a lot of money in my country, but the Steam Deck is 10,000 Rand minimum for the 64 gig version. So you're looking at a massive device, which is great, and it can play a lot of things, and Steam OS and all those things. I love my Steam Deck, but this is less than half the price for a lot of things. And I can stream. We'll talk about that in my setup guide, because it's Wi-Fi 5, not Wi-Fi 6, but I can stream to this using my XR glasses, or, you know, there's a lot of caveats to that. But if you're in South Africa or anywhere not the US, there's a very good argument to be made for this to be your like one and done device for so many things. And now I don't want to get ahead of myself, and I don't want to say something that I will regret, but I do have a feeling that this is going to be my best device of 2024. Okay, here we go. Nailed it.